folks. How are we doing there, Martin?
Yeah, what's up?
Alright, it is currently 2:01, so I guess we're going to have the great Meterpreter here, one of the backtracks for developers. Also, an expert on CUDA systems, which actually I talked to. Would you be interested in a presentation like ISSA conference on CUDA systems?
Sure.
For those who don't know CUDA, and this is me as a layperson, is using essentially video cards with a parallel processing abilities to really crack passwords and do other mathematics fast. Some really nifty stuff, and Martin's done a lot of work in that particular arena. I share a service online where people can crack the stuff for a nominal
It costs
price.
a couple bucks. I mean, like $10 WPA, between 5 and 30 for NTLM. I mean,
He also runs a storefront on Bardstown Road, correct? What is it? What's the name of your company?
Computer Rehab.
Computer Rehab?
Yeah.
MyComputerRehab.com, though.
That's the website, yeah.
Alright, well, I'm going to give you this microphone and let you do your thing, and I'm going to take my coffee and get caffeinated.
Computer Rehab was taken by some internet squatters, so I had to improvise.
And feel free
Anyway, my presentation is mostly videos. I hope everybody can see. I'm also going to stop along the way and we'll talk about the commands. If anybody has any questions, I'm also available for help afterwards. But my first answer is usually try harder. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so this is, I call this What Do We Do Now? We're going to talk about post-exploitation techniques. First of all, you got to get the obligatory who am I out of the way. I'm a core developer for Backtrack Linux. Like Adrian said, I own a local IT business called Computer Rehab. I also co-maintain a website called QuestionDefense.com. That's Alex's, well, he's not here, but my friend Alex that I'm with, he started it, and I maintain it with him. It's technical questions for technical problems. It's all the way from the simplest question about how to turn on your iPhone all the way up to exploit development and everything in between. I'm also a hacker. I want to change that to, thanks to Verizon, I'm going to change that to narcissistic vulnerability pimp next. And no, I don't really have a real job. And more importantly is who am I not? I'm not really a teacher. I'm not really an instructor. I'm definitely not a lawyer. I'm not an expert, and I'm for sure not responsible for what anybody does with this information. So, after we do all that hard work like Elliot showed us to successfully exploit a system, what are we going to do next? A lot of times on a penetration test, simply getting a calc.exe like Elliot showed us is going to be enough. You know, putting a random text file on some CEO's desktop or something like that. But generally in a real test, people want to see how far you can infiltrate the network. And once you get a foothold on the outside of the network, there's a vast amount of stuff and mayhem you can cause inside the network. And some of that stuff we've already looked at in a little bit of depth, like the pivot, for example, to that Pwrcycle showed us to get onto other subnets in the network. And everybody went over briefly a couple of Meterpreter commands. I'm going to try to show a couple simple things and a couple cool things you can do with it. So we want to gather password hashes and other valuable system information. Password hashes are the best because of the ps execute pass the hash command. I'm going to show that. And generally in most environments I've been in, the admin password is the same across the network. More importantly, we might want to set up a backdoor to maintain more permanent system access. Sometimes an exploit can be noisy. Sometimes you want to get in there, set up a backdoor, and take off and let the Monday morning blow over before you come back. Sniff packets for interesting information, and importantly, want to erase our tracks. So how are we going to do this? There's lots of ways to do this. Most of them are tedious and long and involve a lot of assembly. So instead, H.D. Moore and the guys at Metasploit have provided us with the Meterpreter payload, which we've seen a little bit of already. So generally, we're asking ourselves, what the heck is a Meterpreter? It's kind of an odd word. It actually stands for the Meta Interpreter, which is an advanced payload that's included in the Metasploit framework, like I said. sounds cool. What does it do? It provides complex and advanced features that would otherwise be tedious to implement in assembly, like I said. It easily uploads, downloads files, retrieves password hashes. One of the coolest things Dave already touched on is it has the ability to migrate to a completely legitimate process. You always want to migrate to something like Dave said, like Explorer, EXE, something that's not generally turned off. You do not want to migrate to like, something that somebody would open up, use, and then turn off. One of my favorite things about Meterpreter is, we touched on it a little bit, Carlos Perez is kind of the leader. His online handle is Dark Operator. He's kind of the leader in Meterpreter scripting, and he has pretty much scripted all these tasks. I'm going to show some of them step by step, but almost all of them have been now scripted where they can just be run really simply. I think the most important thing about Meterpreter is that all the extensions and the Meterpreter DLL itself are executed entirely from memory and they never touch the disk. So that allows them to execute under the radar of most antivirus detection. Really the only time you touch the disk is when you start to modify files and that kind of thing. There's a timestamp command for that. I'm actually not going to cover it because it's kind of long and lengthy, but you can after you modify a file with the timestamp command, you can go back and change the access time of the files so that people can't tell you were there. A lot of people ask, there's all kinds of backdoors and Trojans. Why should I use this one? It's already built into the Metasploit framework. It can be created as a standalone binary, just executable, and attached to any other exploit or any other means of getting it onto the system. Sometimes you can be creative. I mean, I've heard of people dropping off a CD at the front desk saying, 120 days of free antivirus, and the first secretary puts it in and wants to show it to her boss. And I mean, there's just all kinds of ways you can get an EXE on a system. Meterpreter can hijack session tokens. You can impersonate other users on the system. And Meterpreter makes it really easy to create custom scripts. If you have a custom job that you want to do, you can literally go in and get one of the existing scripts and just modify it. They're very easy to write. You don't even need to know. They're all written in Ruby primarily, but you don't even need to know a lot of Ruby to write them. All right, so this has already been gone over. I'm probably going to go through this one a little bit fast, just some basic Meterpreter usage. Hopefully everybody can see it. If anybody has any questions, I'll stop and explain the command. These are fairly simple. I've already exploited the system with MS0867. Here's the basic help commands. As you can see, there's a lot of them. Most of the commands in here are fairly Linux-based. Change directory. Here's the PS command, the process list. Generally, the first thing you want to do is migrate to a legitimate process, which is what I'm going to do here. See how I migrate to Explorer, EXE. It's kind of our personal favorite. But there's plenty of other ones that aren't closed all the time. Get UID is always going to show us what user we are. So right now I'm running as the victim loser, who is the regular user. There's a get privileges extension, which will tell you all the privileges that the user is running under, so you can see what kind of access you have. System info is going to tell us what kind of system it is. Idle time will tell us how long the user has been idle. This is especially useful if you want to watch a VNC session or take a screenshot or something. If you want to catch your employees on Facebook, you want to wait till they're on the system. Get local working directory gives us the directory on the attacking machine, and then get WD, get working directory, gives us the directory on the that stopped kind of fast, sorry. Okay, so get working directory gives us the directory on the victim machine. And the commands are the same pretty much for Linux, ls, list, change directory, that kind of thing. There's only one, there's a couple weird things that I'll show you later on when you're uploading and downloading files. Meterpreter, for some reason, when you're uploading files to a Windows system, you need to use a double slash because it doesn't see the slash correctly. So this is the plain old hash dump. This is one of the first things that I would ever do before I compromise the system. First, I would migrate to a legitimate process. Then you would immediately get the hash dump going. Just to make this video about 2 seconds longer, I copy them and paste them over here to our attacking system in a dump file. the reason I do this, like Adrian said, I do a lot of work with CUDA and NTLM crashing, or NTLM cracking. It won't take a list like this, so use the cut command and remove the LM hashes and the usernames, and that'll just give us a nice list of NTLM hashes that we can upload to a server like mine or crack locally or whatever. Just show you the file there. So there's our nice, oops, list. Anyway, that was a really nice list of NTLM hashes if you would have seen it. So here's running some of the included scripts. If you want to find where the scripts are, they're in the Pentest Exploit Framework 3 Scripts Meterpreter directory. I will say that occasionally some of them are broken. They're not kept up quite as quick as the Metasploit development is. So if you find one that's broken, you got a couple options. You can use another one, you can complain to Carlos, or you can fix it yourself. Sure. So this is just me using our good old MS-068 or MS-0867 exploit. It always works. Got to get our UID. As you can see, this time I've exploited on the level of the system user. First thing you always want to run is to check VM. So this is going to show us that it's a virtual machine. Run get countermeasures is going to tell us the status of the Windows firewall on the system. We can tell that our firewall is enabled at this point. That could be interesting information for later usage. This next script is going to be called get local subnets. This could actually be done with the ipconfig command, but if there were more subnets, it would actually show them here, and I would be inclined to do a pivot. Run kill AV will kill about 95% of antiviruses on the target. I have noticed that it won't kill Microsoft Security Essentials. The next script is a little bit more in depth. Some of the scripts have a help command, so you can give them the -H in case you want to see the commands. I'm going to do this two different ways with remote desktop and with telnet. They both have about the same options. The reason I want to show this is because you can run the get GUI script, and what it will do is turn on remote desktop, add a port in the firewall, and that type of thing on the victim computer. But the reason that it can be tricky is because unless you crack a hash and you know the current username and password, you'll have to actually create a new user and password, which is really cool that it does that, but it's also really not cool when the system admin of the victim machine sees a new user on the box. So in the first example, I'm just going to do it. I already, of course, know the username and password, so I'm going to show it done that way with not creating a user. So in that case, I would just use the E option and enable RDP only. So as you can see, it was already enabled, but if it wasn't enabled, it would say enabled, and it also opens a port in the local firewall. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our desktop, and I'm going to connect on over there. And there we go. I got a remote desktop session, and I'm actually logging in as the current user. This is another place the idle time command comes in handy. I know that the guy's been away. If it's noon and he's been away for 33 minutes, I've probably got 28 more before he's coming back. So as you can see,